Hello and welcome to part 1 in a series of videos that I'm putting out this week where I break down all the fights taking place this weekend at UFC 242 from a betting perspective. So I am back after my 2-week vacation, 2-week holiday, whatever you want to call it, where I visited Singapore and Bali, and I'm definitely not feeling as recharged as I was hoping to be. Didn't really get out of Bali what I expected. I thought Bali would be like a super relaxed, super chilled, super tropical location. You know, if you look at the pictures and the brochures online, that is certainly certainly what they try and portray. But if you've ever visited Bali, you'll know it's an extremely hectic and crazy place. Do feel like we got slightly honey-dicked on what to expect from visiting there. So it was quite a hectic, quite a hustle bustle 2 weeks off. Singapore was excellent. Singapore was amazing. Singapore's probably the greatest place on earth that I've ever been. I mean, it's neck and neck between Singapore and Paris, two of my favorite places in the world. But Singapore was amazing, but what a complete difference, man. I mean, we stopped off in Singapore on the way to Bali, and honestly, when you go from Singapore to Bali, it's almost like you've fucking stepped on a rocket ship, and when you get off the other side, you've stepped onto some different planet. It's almost like you can't believe it's on Earth. Like, they're so different. It is unreal. Definitely different vibes. Not the most relaxing holiday. It was quite hectic, and I significantly underestimated how hard that 17-hour flight would be. You know, even with breaking it up with like transfer flights and stuff, and you know, a few hours break at the airport, on the way back in particular, it was fucking brutal. So won't be rushing out to book another long flight like that again. Definitely takes it out of you. I got back last Thursday. It's now Monday evening, and I'm still feeling a bit run down, still a bit tired if I'm honest. So that was a beast, but no time to be tired. We can't afford to be tired. We got to get right back to work, because we are about to embark upon an absolutely stacked autumn-winter schedule of MMA. We have got so much MMA coming up, so many opportunities to make money. The autumn-winter schedule is the busiest autumn-winter schedule I've ever seen. I mean, if we look at the betting schedule on my website here, you know, over the next 6 weeks, we've got 5 Bellator events, 1 KSW event, and a UFC event every single weekend. And it doesn't just slow down there, because if we go a little bit later on into the year, we can see here that we have got back-to-back UFC events every single weekend now, right up until the end of November, when we will get a nice 3-week break at the end of November, and I cannot wait for that. Probably going to take the little man to Disneyland, probably going to spend a few days in Paris, and then spend the next couple of weeks chilling out. I think that 3-week break cannot come quick enough, but look how much work we have got to do before then. An absolute boatload of work, an absolute boatload of events coming up, and it's time for us to get serious. We have absolutely crushed it this year. We have done great on pre-fight betting, great on live betting, and this is our opportunity now to finish the round strong. We're not going to get complacent. You know, it's been a long old year, long hard year, but in November, December and January, the schedule will finally slow down a little bit. We'll get a little bit more time off. So it's time for us to be ruthless in our decision making, to continue taking the sniper approach and not get complacent, not feel compelled and impulsive and want to put our money in these marginal situations. We must stick to the strategies and the fundamentals that have helped us make so much money this year, by only putting our money in strong positions. And before I went on my 2-week vacation and 2-week holiday, I did say to everyone that I am just getting warmed up, and I did say I would be coming back from that break with more drive than ever before to take this channel to the next level, to keep smashing the bookies right in the dick where it hurts, and basically elevate the level of content that I produce. And a part of that was buying a new content creation powerhouse PC that would enable me to bring you videos earlier in the week, more videos, different style of videos, and far more frequent live streams. You know, at the moment I only do a live stream once a week or once every 2 weeks. pretty soon you're going to be seeing multiple live streams every week, 2 or 3 live streams a week, maybe daily live streams at some busy weeks. And as you can see in the background, I have strategically put it there so you guys can see that I'm not bullshitting you. I have bought all the components necessary for this content creation beast. The only component yet to arrive is a graphics card. That's coming on Wednesday. But here it all is. It's going to be an absolute powerhouse. Spent about $5 on this, which is about $7,000 US. It's going to be an absolute monster. It is going to enable me to bring you so much more content than I do now. Much better quality content. And I just now need to find time to basically build it and transfer all my shit from this PC to the new one. So because I am running behind at the moment, because I need to get this fucker here built, because we've got so many UFC events, Bellator events, KSW events coming. I mean, Bellator are trying to ruin my life with 5 events in 6 weeks. I'm not going to be seeing much daylight over the next few months, but I am very busy at the moment. I need to get this built because I'm in a catch-22 situation where I've got no time at the moment. This fucker behind me will save me time, but I ain't got the time at the moment to build it because of the amount of UFC events, Bellator events, all events coming up. So basically what I'm trying to say is I'm not going to do a live stream this week while I'm still mega behind. I need to catch up on some stuff. But if you could still hit the like button for me, and subscribe if you haven't already, it would mean a lot. It really would mean a lot. I'm trying to hit 5,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and every single time you hit that like button or if you subscribe, it's really going to help me a lot, and it will give me the motivation I need to continue pumping out these videos. So I think that covers everything I want to talk about in terms of housekeeping. But this is obviously a different kind of video because it's the first video of a brand new month, the first video of September. And whenever we have the first video of a new month, we have to go back and look at how we did in the previous month. So we review the previous month's performance. So just want to make sure I've said everything that I want to say. Yeah, I think that's it. So let's look back at the results over the last month. So we'll start off by closing that down. We do not need that. So first event in August was UFC on ESPN 5, Robbie Lawler against Colby Covington. I don't want to go into these fights in any detail. Don't want to talk about these results in any detail, otherwise this video is going to be mega long, but we'll just run through these results very quickly. So UFC on ESPN 5, 2 bets on this card, went 2-0 for a clean sweep, 2 winners. We had 4 units on Nasrat Haqparast to beat Joaquim Silva, that was an easy winner, and 3 units on the over 1.5 rounds in the fight between Darko Stosic and Kennedy Nzechukwu. So if we just add this up very quickly, so 4 times 1.41 equals minus the stake of 4. So on this bet it was a profit of 1.64 units. On the next bet it was 3 times odds of 1.63. Take away the stake, 1.89. We'll pop that in there, 1.89. Okay, on to the next one. Next event was UFC on ESPN plus 14. Only 1 bet on this card. 2 units on Veronica Macedo to beat Polyana Viana, which was, of course, another winner. So if we type in 2 times the odds of 1.8 equals minus the stake, that was a 1.6 unit profit. On to the next event. It was UFC 241. Daniel Cormier, Stipe Miocic. Who could forget how many people gave me shit for betting on Nate Diaz? Lost count of how many people told me I was an idiot for betting on him, but he came through for us in a big way and got it done. 1.15 unit profit on him. And then also on that card we had 3 units on Corey Sandhagen. Got in super early on him before his odds got absolutely destroyed, but we got in nice and early to bank a decent profit of 1.89 units. And then the most recent card, UFC on ESPN plus 15. We were undefeated. Oh, I clicked the wrong button. That might lag the video out a lot. This is the reason why I need a new computer. Very sorry, guys. I have accidentally hit my emails and I will close them down. Sorry if the video went a bit crazy then. That's the reason why I need a new PC, so that it doesn't go to shit if I accidentally click them in. I wasn't supposed to. So yes, the most recent event, UFC on ESPN plus 15. I was undefeated going into this event. I was 5-0 for the month. Feeling super duper confident. 5-0 for the month. I was undefeated. Could I end the month undefeated with a monster profit? Well, it was certainly looking likely at the beginning of the card, because on this card I had 3 bets, and the first 2 bets of the event were winners. Brilliant winners. I was so happy with both bets. Damir Ismagulov obviously cruised to a win against Thiago Moises at decent odds. That was never in doubt. Let's calculate this here. So that was 3 times the odds of 1.57 equals, take away the initial stake of 3, so 1.71. And then we had the only underdog. Oh, actually, that's not true. Nate Diaz was an underdog. But the only big underdog bet of the month, where we bet on a huge underdog. We had 1 unit on Da Un Jung to beat Kadis Ibragimov. Well, he came through for us in a big way and cashed as a huge underdog winner for my biggest single profit of the month. 2.2 units on a single bet. And look at that. Going into the Jessica Andrade versus Weili Zhang fight, I was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-0, undefeated on the month. And if you would have told me at the beginning of August that I would only lose 1 bet out of all of these bets, I could tell you Jessica Andrade would have been bottom of the list of bets I expected to lose. I was super confident in Jessica Andrade. Didn't really give Weili Zhang much of a chance of winning at all. And hey, that's MMA. That's why we love MMA. That's why MMA is such an amazing sport, because of how crazy and unpredictable it is. We absolutely crushed it in August. 7-0 going into the final fight of the month. And it turned out that one of my most confident bets of the month was one of the bets that lost, which is crazy irony, but it's the reason we love the sport. So if we add up the profit and loss for the month, we can see that the overall profit was 1.64 plus 1.89 plus 1.6 plus 1.15 plus 1.89 plus 1.71 plus 2.2 equals 12.08 minus the 3 unit loss on a Jessica Andrade, gives us an overall profit for the month of 9.08 units, which is fucking amazing. Units mean nothing. They're completely useless. Units are a silly concept. They're just dumb, and there's lots of reasons why they're dumb, but I use them on my website just to kind of make it easier for people to relate to the information that I share with them. But personally, I don't use units. I never have. Never met anyone crushing it in betting that actually does use units. Of course, if you are crushing it and making serious money in this game, you want to be using compound interest. And the beauty of a month like this, where you go 7-1, 7 wins and only 1 loss. The beauty of a month like this is that irrespective of all these stupid metrics like units and ROI, irrespective of all those dumb things that people pay attention to, the most important thing about a month like this is if you use compound interest, the rate at which you can accelerate your profits, churning out an incredible win rate of 7-1, you're going to be able to make a hell of a lot of money using compound interest with a win rate this high. So it was a huge month for me personally. I was very, very happy with the pre-fight betting performance, and after banking another solid month, we are now 7-1 on months this year. We've made a profit in 7 months, only 7 out of the 8 months. We've only made a loss in 1 month, which was June, and it wasn't even that big of a loss. So 7-1 on months. Only lost 1 bet in August, which is absolutely fucking fantastic. And a big middle finger to everyone that takes the piss out of me, that says that I never place a bet and that I pass on every bet. Fuck you, mate. I'm sure you didn't go 7-1 this month, so up yours. Have a huge finger on me. Not easy to do that, and definitely not easy to go 7-1 on months either. So absolutely delighted with the way that we did this month. And also, again, units are a ridiculous concept. You know, all that shit, units mean nothing. I preach to everyone, I preach to all my members, compound interest, compound interest, compound interest. And the beauty of a month like that, I say, if you are using compound interest, you can start to snowball your profits rapidly with a win rate like that. So 9 units, it doesn't sound that impressive, but when you're using compound interest with a win rate that high, you will be absolutely crushing it and snowballing profits very quickly. But unfortunately, I'm a busy bee, and I don't have time to talk in depth about compound interest bankroll management strategies, but hopefully with this motherfucker behind me, I'll be able to start producing video content on that one day. Hopefully I'll get some spare time to do it. So that is it for August. We crushed it, boys, and I hope, well, it's basically impossible for you to have made money from my advice in August, because any of the bets I told you to place, apart from Andrade, would have won. So unless you got super unlucky and only tailed the Andrade bet, you probably did pretty fucking good. So big shout out to everyone that tailed the bet. Big shout out to everyone as well that has signed up to my website and that jumps into the chat room and jumps in the conversations on a daily basis. Great to see so many new faces in the chat room. I super appreciate everyone that stops by to make this the best, the strongest, the greatest betting community on the planet. I really believe it is. The strict no dickheads allowed policy seems to work extremely well, where we ban people very quickly that are basically disruptive and negative. And because of that, and again I've clicked something that I wasn't supposed to click, because of that strict no dickheads allowed policy, it is in my opinion the greatest online betting community in the world. So if you haven't already checked it out, stop by. It's free, it doesn't cost you anything. Come visit the chat room, share your opinions on upcoming fights. There's a lot of experienced gamblers in here that make a lot of money from gambling and have been with me for many years, so you could probably pick their brains, pick my brains, learn a lot, advance your own betting game. But please leave the egos at the door. No dickheads allowed. There are no warnings. We don't play around. We will ban anyone that is a prick. So yeah, stop by though, and it's all positive vibes on there. Come stop by and say hi. And now we will finally get into the part of the video that you came here for, the part of the video that you really want, and that is fight talk. So the first fight that I'm going to talk about in today's video is going to be Ottman Aizattar against Teemu Packalén. So Ottman Aizattar against Teemu Packalén, and Aizattar is making his UFC debut against Teemu Packalén. So when I began to research this fight, I did get very excited by it, because Ottman Aizattar, at least on paper, has got a lot going for him. But as we know, fights are not fought on paper, fights are fought in a cage. So when we dig deeper, who knows how much of a viable bet he will be this weekend. But I'm going to share everything I found out about this guy with you right now. So Ottman Aizattar is the brother of UFC middleweight Abu Aizattar, and he has got friends in high places. He certainly keeps very good company. The first thing that I want to point out, which I thought was quite amusing, was the entourage that he has following him. So as we can see here in this fight, his last fight actually, this is his last fight from back in August 2018 against Daniel Corcoran. We can see that his opponent, this is Corcoran, he's literally walking out with two of his mates, which I think is quite amusing, because when we skip ahead just a few minutes further on to when Ottman starts to walk out, what I do find quite amusing is this guy's got a full-on football team with him, and see how many guys he's brought. So talk about trying to intimidate the opposition. Cocker has showed up with a couple of his mates, and Aizattar has shown up with an absolute squad of a squad big enough to be a football team. And he's also got some friends in high places, couple of familiar faces in here. Here we can see UFC middleweight Abu. Is his name Abu Aizattar? I don't know. Yeah, I think it's Abu Aizattar. I just closed it down. But anyway, his brother on the right-hand side by here. And also lurking somewhere in the background, we can see our friend, our friend that helped us make a lot of money earlier on in the month. Where is he? Where is he? He's going to pop up. But he said, there he is. Mini Kelvin Gastelum. Nasrat Haqparast is also in Otman Isertar's corner. We can see him in the background there. So Otman Isertar, certainly from a very good stable of fighters, certainly keeps good company, and this fight doesn't last very long at all. I will whiz through it for you now. As we can see, it ends in about 20 or 30 seconds. This is Isertar on the left hand side in the all black shorts, and we can see in a moment he catches Kokora with a glancing blow to sit him down, finishes the fight off with ground and pound. Last fight ended in about 30 seconds, so obviously we can't learn a lot from that fight. It's over too quickly to really be able to learn anything about Otman Isertar. But speaking a little bit more to the friends in high places thing, obviously we can see he keeps a very, very big entourage. Here we can see him, with fellow UFC. I believe he's a lightweight. This is Khalid Taha, obviously lightweight champ Khabib Nurmagomedov, and we've also got Ali Abdel Aziz, famous UFC fighter manager. Also, if we scroll down a bit further, here he is again hanging out with Khabib, and if we scroll down a bit further, here we can see him alongside Nasrat Haqparast, Firas Zahabi, and George St. Pierre. So Otman, when you start to research him, he is there's a lot to like. Again, he's undefeated at 11-0. His brother's a pretty good fighter. Trains with Nasrat Haqparast, Khabib Nurmagomedov, George St. Pierre, surrounds himself with some of the best to ever do it. So those are encouraging signs. But I've really got to be honest, when I began to research Otman Isertar, I was a little bit underwhelmed, which is a shame, because even before researching his fights, I was eyeing Otman Isertar up as a potential bet, because if we look at his odds, he's a reasonable size favourite. And let's be real, Teemu Packalén just isn't very good. His stand-up's not great. He does hit hard, but not that technical. And his cardio is just very, very bad. He's just quite a low-level guy. So the reason why I jumped to researching this fight first before many of the others were because I know Isertar at least is from a good pedigree, a good stable. On paper, he looks very good. And with Packalén being so bad, I just thought that this would potentially be a good fight for Isertar. But when I watched footage, gotta be real with you guys, was a little bit underwhelmed, and I will go into the reasons why now. So obviously, training with guys like Nasrat Haqparast, Khabib Nurmagomedov, you would expect Otman Isertar's grappling to be very good. His brother's grappling is very good. Here we can see Otman Isertar is in these black shorts here with the red gloves on the right of the screen. But you would have expected him to be quite decent, keeping that company. But in this fight, his grappling really wasn't that impressive at all. His takedown defense wasn't great, and we're going to see a little bit of that here. So in this fight against Alejandro Pato, just to set the scene a little bit, Alejandro Martinez Pato. Martinez is only 3-0, relatively inexperienced, and this fight took place in November 2017, so around about 2 years ago now. Obviously, Isertar may have improved a lot since then. A lot can change in 2 years, especially when you're training with some of the best fighters in the world like Khabib Nurmagomedov. But difficult to measure how much he has improved, because obviously he's only fought once since then, and that fight only lasted for 30 seconds. So if we hit play here, and there are some things that I want to show you in this fight. So very soon we're going to see Isertar's wrestling and takedown defense tested. Here we can see he hurt his opponent with an overhand right there, which forced his opponent to drive him into the cage and start working for a takedown. So Isertar, one of the first thing I noticed here is he doesn't really create much of a wide base, and he chooses to go to an overhook on the right side instead of an underhook, which is something you see a lot of Muay Thai fighters make, but it's generally not as good technique to use to defend the takedown as an underhook. But here you know, he has reverse position. He has got 2 underhooks in play and briefly did have control of his opponent's body. But again, gives up that position, enables his opponent to get in really deep on his hips. And here we can see his opponent is finally able to get his hands connected around his knees and is able to complete that takedown. So, you know, not the best takedown defense early on from Aizatar, but he's in a decent position here. He's got his back tight to the cage, and you know, his opponent doesn't have full control of his body. They don't have their hands connected together. He's doing a reasonably good job of preventing Martinez from connecting his hands together, and you would expect him to just be able to quickly pop back up to his feet before he enables his opponent to start working to take his back. But he didn't do that. He actually what's the word I'm looking for? He dwelled on that position for too long, which enabled Martinez to work and take his back. And here then we've seen Martinez got a nice deep hook in on the left side, but makes the mistake here of committing too hard to try and take in the back before getting the left hook in, which results in him getting too high up on Aizatar's back, which then enables Aizatar to shake him off and sneak out the back door, which we're going to see any second here. As we can see, Martinez very, very high up here, and that enables Aizatar to sneak out the back door. So we've seen a little bit of Aizatar's grappling. You know, there's a lot of mistakes that he made there, mistakes that you wouldn't necessarily like to see a fighter that trains with a guy like Khabib Nurmagomedov, a guy like Nasrat Haqparast make. But pretty soon into this fight, we're going to see both guys back up, and this gives us a little opportunity here to start taking a look at Ottman Aizatar's stand-up. So, you know, throws a really sloppy naked kick there off balance. You know, someone with sharper technique, faster counters would have really been able to punish him from that. And here we can see just throwing a lot of lazy, sloppy kicks off balance, which definitely aren't good. So, you know, when you see a guy like this with clear holes in their grappling, you'd want to see razor sharp striking technique to compensate for that. But we're not seeing that here. You know, not particularly great grappling, not particularly great striking either. And you know, even here we could even see, you know, not the most fluid movement as he threw that kick there. Even as he threw that kick there, you can see his chin's just high and exposed. Someone with faster counters, faster hands, you know, more explosion would really be able to make him pay for that with big counters. And again, as we see here, overcommitting to punches, you know, winging wild hooks. Not liking too much what I'm seeing from striking. And then again, this is the other thing that I wanted to show you. Gives up a really weak takedown here as Martinez pops back to his feet. Aizatar throws a knee and gets taken down because he's caught off balance. But here you think, you know, he briefly shows strong hips here, and you think, you know, is he going to be able to clear his left leg and stuff this takedown? But instead, Martinez is able to turn the corner, complete the takedown straight into full guard. You just wouldn't really want to be seeing a fighter throw in the knee in that position, because it does leave him wide open to the takedown. You'd really want to be seeing a fight you'd bet on as a favourite at these kind of odds, more focused on clearing the legs and not enabling a guy like Alejandro Martinez to get in deep on his hips. So that was another mistake. If we skip a bit further on, we go a couple minutes into the second round, we get to see more of Ottman Aizatar's striking. So again, you know, winging lots of hooks, just with his chin high and exposed, you know, not really moving his head too much off the centre line, not much head movement. And yeah, just not that impressed with his striking, if I'm being honest. You know, we saw him get caught by a left-hand counter there. This is a guy that to me looks very hittable, throws a lot of kicks off balance. Yeah, just not really impressed at all. Not really that impressed at all. So if we skip a bit further on into the fight, if we go just maybe a minute and a half later on to this point, we can see that Ottman gives up another easy takedown that's going to be coming any second now. See there, he got caught by another big right hook. You can just see the striking defense isn't great. And here we can see he does a pretty good job here of clearing his legs on this occasion. You know, as Martinez shoots in, you can see Ottman already trying to clear his legs, trying to make sure that Martinez can't get anywhere near his legs here. But unfortunately, as Martinez drives him into the cage, Ottman again allows Martinez to wrap his arms around his legs, get his hands connected here, and complete a really weak takedown. You can see Ottman there is kind of frustrated with himself. Just a really weak takedown. You wouldn't expect a guy like this who trains with Khabib Nurmagomedov to be getting taken down this easily. Very poor, very disappointing. And then if we move later on into the fight, just a little bit later on, I believe this is into the third round. No, this is still the second round actually, but here we see signs that Aizatar is starting to get tired and gas out towards the end of the second round. We can see, slightly more laboured movement, a little bit more flat-footed. Just took a deep breath there, gets caught off balance after throwing a lazy kick. Just kind of sloppy body language, indications just in that window there that he's starting to get very tired, which isn't that good. A minute and a half left to go in the round, considering this fight's in the lighter weight classes. Definitely not a good sign to be seeing a fighter get tired like that towards the end of the second round. Just purely on the basis that Ottman Aizatar, he is a favourite in this fight. He's a pretty decent sized favourite. Odds are around 1.44, which is minus 227 for an implied probability of 69%. Looking at a fighter at these odds, you certainly wouldn't want to be betting on someone who is potentially going to gas out towards the end of the second round. If a fight's contested at a high pace. So that was another red flag for me. His cardio is not bad or anything, but, in the welterweight division, if you're going to bet on a guy at favourite odds, you don't want to be seeing him throwing sloppy kicks and taking deep breaths with a minute and a half left to go in round two. Certainly is a big red flag. But Teemu Packalen's got terrible cardio anyway, so shouldn't even come into play. Just a red flag, something to pay attention to. So when we look at the odds on Aizatar, obviously they are very steep, and in order to get any value here at odds of 1.44, you'd have to give him a 75% chance or better of winning. And based on what I've just shown you, there's no way that you can get to that figure. Teemu Packalen's not very good at all, but that doesn't mean that you can just go out and throw money into a weak position like Ottman Aizatar. And also remember, this is Aizatar's UFC debut. He's friends with Khabib. This is a big event for Khabib and his team. Many members of his team are competing on this card in Abu Dhabi. A lot of pressure will be on Ottman Aizatar to perform. We know a big percentage of fighters lose when they make their UFC debut, so definitely wouldn't be betting on Aizatar here. At the same time, Teemu Packalen is so bad. His striking sloppy. He's a strong grappler, but he tends to only be a strong grappler for 3 or 4 minutes before gassing out. There's no way I'd bet on this guy as an underdog either. What I would also say is both these guys have been out for pretty much 2 years. I mean, I know that Aizatar fought last year in August, but the fight only ended in 30 seconds. Before that, he fought, into the third round back in November 2017. If we look at Packalen's record, he hasn't fought for almost 2.5 years since fighting Mark Diakiese back in March 2017. So the point I'm trying to make is we haven't really seen a lot of these guys over the last couple of years. So they may have improved immeasurably from the last time we saw them. I mean, Teemu Packalen could show up an absolute cardio machine, strong offensive wrestling, vastly improved striking, and totally blow Aizatar out the water. Aizatar training with someone like Khabib Nurmagomedov and Nasrat Haqparast may also show up and look absolutely spectacular compared to how he looked in that fight that I just showed you against Alejandro Martinez. So very difficult fight for betting. No strong positions on this fight. It's an easy pass. Don't put too much brain power into it. There's no way you can bet that fight. Now the next fight that I want to get into, and I will just take a quick drink of water. Sorry about this, guys. Okay, sorry. Next fight that I want to talk about is Don Madge against Fares Ziam, and I hope that I'm pronouncing that correctly. And the reason why I want to talk about this fight is because Don Madge was one of the first names that jumped out at me when I began researching UFC 242, and I think that a lot of people might be feeling the same. You know, when I saw that Don Madge was, you know, a moderate favourite against a young 22-year-old fighter making their UFC debut on short notice, I thought that Don Madge might be a very, very good bet. That's why Don Madge was one of the first names that jumped out at me, because it's not going to be easy for a young guy like Fares Ziam, just 22 years old, to make his UFC debut on just a couple of weeks' notice. Like I say, Don Madge was originally supposed to be fighting Magomed Mustafayev, so Ziam stepping up on a couple of weeks' notice. Very difficult task to go up against a tough opponent like Don Madge in the UFC debut. And as we know, a massive percentage of fighters lose when they make their UFC debut on short notice. So that is why Don Madge, as a moderate favourite, jumped out at me. I thought he might be a great bet with the odds seriously stacked against Fares Ziam, with him already having a huge mountain to climb, being so young, taking his fight on short notice, and it being his UFC debut. But while I talk about this fight, I'm actually going to show Fares Ziam's last fight against Yassine Belhaj in the background. This was from February this year, and there's nothing too specific that I want to call out and talk about this fight. Ziam is the guy in the all-white shorts here and the blue gloves, but I will just leave this running while I talk about this fight in the background. So I kind of had memories of Don Madge looking really good in his UFC debut against Tay Edwards. I just had this vision of him being dangerous on the ground and ferocious, and for that reason I thought that he would be a very good bet. But when I actually went back and watched Don Madge's last fight against Tay Edwards, although he had a very impressive finish, I was a little bit underwhelmed by his performance. I just felt that he gave up takedowns way too easily, and I felt that he spent way too long on his back attacking with submissions rather than trying to work his way back to his feet. I mean, we know 9 times out of 10 in MMA, if you're on your back, you're in a losing position. So I hate it when fighters stay on their back and throw up armbar and triangle attempts, etc., rather than just trying to use that energy to work their way back to their feet. It's really frustrating, and it's a huge red flag. And Don Madge did show that red flag in his UFC debut against Tay Edwards. And it's really difficult for me to kind of gain a sense of what Don Madge is going to bring to the table this weekend, because we really haven't seen that much of him at all. You know, dating way back to 2016, which is 3 years ago now, he hasn't really spent that much time in a competitive environment at all. You know, this fight only lasted 7 minutes. This fight only lasted just over 5 minutes. So in the last 3 years, we've only really got 7 or 8 minutes of, actually it's a little bit more than that. We've only got about 11 or 12 minutes of footage to work from and learn from in the last 3 years. And, you know, a 28-year-old fighter can improve and change a lot in 3 years. So there's really a lot that we don't know about Don Madge. He's pretty much an unknown entity. But what I can say is, based on his UFC debut against Tay Edwards, his last fight, I would not bet him here, simply because, like I say, he is a relatively big favourite. And even though the odds are seriously stacked against Fares Ziam, even though he has a huge mountain to climb, even though it is very unlikely he wins, it's obviously quite likely Don Madge wins given the circumstances. I haven't seen enough from Don Madge that would persuade me to bet on him. As you can see here, you know, Ziam's a decent wrestler. Don Madge is way too happy fighting off his back, and it's just a massive red flag for me. There's no way I can bet on someone that doesn't show enough urgency to work their way back to their feet once they get taken down. And, you know, you look at Don Madge's salty record of 8-3-1. For me, that's a bit of a reflection of his glaring holes when it comes to his takedown defense and ground game. You know, he is very offensive off his back, does look very dangerous, threatening with submissions, but nothing special in my opinion. You know, seems to be an explosive, dangerous striker. You know, he's got plenty of knockout wins on his record, but yeah, pretty much an unknown entity. So this fight is an easy pass for me. I would recommend not betting on this fight. And now we go into the main event of the evening, the Dustin Poirier versus Khabib Nurmagomedov main event, which of course in this video is a little bit anticlimactic because it's not that interesting for betting. You know, Khabib's a big favourite, and rightly so. Dustin Poirier is a big underdog, but, you know, is he worth a bet? Well, we'll discuss it now. So this is obviously an extremely easy fight to break down, a very, very easy fight to break down. You know, Dustin Poirier obviously wants to punch a hole in Khabib's head, and Khabib wants to grab a hold of Dustin and wet blanket him for 5 rounds, or however long it takes to get Dustin out of there. And that's what makes this a pretty straightforward fight for betting, because if we really think about it, it's a hell of a lot easier to grab hold of someone than it is to land a death shot, because it's not enough just for Poirier to land big and hard on Khabib. He's got to land a big enough shot to put Khabib away and knock him out. And that is very, very unlikely. It's going to be a lot easier for Khabib to tie Dustin up, drive him into the cage, and start wet blanketing him. And that is why the odds are where they are, and to be honest, why I agree with them. You know, if we look at the current odds on Khabib, he is around a 1.22 favourite, which is minus 455 for an implied probability of 82%. This means that in order to get any value on Khabib at all, you've got to give him close to a 90% chance of winning. You've got to cap him at about 87 to 88%. And I mean, Dustin just deserves so much more respect than that. Dustin is an elite level fighter, high level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, reasonably strong wrestler with legit KO power in every strike. And as we know, if the fight stays standing, Dustin Poirier will have a significant advantage. So there's no way that you can bet Khabib in the 87 to 88% region. Therefore, you cannot bet him here. Do not put him in your parlays. Don't do anything with him. You cannot bet Khabib. He is completely unplayable at these odds. Dustin deserves far more respect than this. And if we look at the odds on Dustin, does that mean he's worth a bet? Well, if we take a look at it, current average odds are around about, call it 4.35, which is plus 335 for an implied probability of 23%. So, you know, is there value on Dustin Poirier here? And to be perfectly honest with you, I don't think there is. I don't see him beating Khabib. I really don't. I think that Khabib is a force of nature. I really do. I just think that, for me, the real litmus test with Khabib was when he fought Edson Barboza, because Edson Barboza's takedown defense is absolutely incredible. And when Khabib was repeatedly able to take Barboza down, it was a bit of an eye-opener for me. Up until the Barboza fight, I was on the fence with Khabib. I knew he was good. I just didn't realise, I didn't fully buy into how good he was until I saw him absolutely maul Edson Barboza for 3 rounds. And Dustin Poirier's takedown defense is not on the level of Edson Barboza's. He's certainly much more dangerous with his boxing, but if Edson could be taken down and controlled so easily, I don't have much hope for Dustin here. Dustin can win. He absolutely can win. There's no doubt about it. But do I give him more than a 23% chance of winning? Probably not. I think it's extremely unlikely. For me, this is a really straightforward fight. It basically comes down to whether Dustin Poirier is going to be able to land a Hail Mary flash KO. And I don't like betting on things like that. I like to bet on a fighter on merit. I want to, if I'm going to bet on a fighter, I'm not going to bet on them in the hope that they can land a big kill shot, you know, a big shot that's going to knock someone out. I want to be betting on them because I'm confident that they can use their skills to outperform their opponent over a set period of time. Do I think Dustin Poirier can beat Khabib Nurmagomedov over 25 minutes if both guys show up and perform their full potential? No, I don't, because I don't believe that he has got the ability to prevent Khabib from tying him up and driving him into the cage and controlling him there, where you take Dustin's power away from him. So, you know, the odds on Dustin may be tempting to some of you, and you'll quite often hear me say things when we have matchups with big underdogs. You know, you'll quite often hear me say things like, you know, I don't necessarily think this guy's a bad bet. I can see why people would bet him. It's too much risk for me, but I certainly don't think he's a bad bet. I wouldn't actually say this about Dustin. I do think Dustin's a bad bet here. Just because I just think it's very unlikely he lands the kill shot, because it's not like Khabib's got a bad chin. I mean, Dustin's really going to have to deliver an absolute diamond shot to put him away. And I feel like Conor was faster and more accurate and hit harder than Dustin, and he couldn't really hurt Khabib. I just don't see Dustin doing it. He can win, absolutely he can win. Dustin's a beast. But I don't see any value here with the implied probability of 23%. It's just nothing there for me. I can't cap him at 30%. That's way too generous. And that's what I'd need to cap him at in order to bet him here. So I hope that helps, guys. That is it for part 1 in this series of videos. Leave a comment below and let me know what fights you would like to see me feature in part 2. Also, if you liked today's video, please hit the like button and also subscribe. I'm sorry I didn't have any bets to share with you today, but I will keep digging and hopefully I'll find something soon. And remember, at the end of the day, it ain't about picks. It's not about trying to be the smartest guy in the bar. Everyone wants to bet every fight. It's not about that. It's about taking the sniper approach, only putting your money in strong positions. And it's about using compound interest to fire big and aggressively on positions where you feel super confident, so that over time you can snowball your profits and make a very large amount of money. It's the way you turn small amounts of money into big amounts of money. Go read up on compound interest, boys. It is very, very powerful. It's completely changed my life, and I'm sure it will change yours if you start to learn about it. Not just to do with betting, not just to do with gambling. It implies to all aspects of life. You know, if you consistently make good decisions, over time they snowball and compound. So look into compound interest. That's it for today's video. I'll be back tomorrow with part 2. Take care. Please like and subscribe. Love you all, and I'll see you soon.